Good day internet people and welcome to CarStats. This is the weirdest and also probably the ugliest car I've seen being launched in India for a while now. I thought the MG Windsor had an ugly rear section, but I was completely blown away when I saw it in person, and I pray that is also the case with the Syros. And for the sake of uniformity, I'm going to be calling it the Syros and not the Syros. The Syros design will divide opinions, and I'll go one step further and say that I'm sure there is going to be very few people out there in their right minds who are going to like the way it looks. But having said that, the Syros is one of the most innovative products the Indian market has seen in a while, after the Windsor of course. It transgresses and overlaps segments and offers so much more than one can expect. In today's video, I'll mostly be talking about the Syros and attempting to explain what the product is by comparing them to none other than its younger and older siblings, the Sonet and the Seltos. This comparison will be on a host of parameters that should help in simplifying purchase decisions. So share this video with someone considering a Syros, and also please subscribe to the CarStats channel for more such objective comparisons. And towards the end of this video, I'll be telling you all which one of these three cars I'd put my money on. Now the Syros is being pitched by Kia as an in-between product, that is in between the Seltos and the Sonet. There is no doubt that the Sonet and Seltos are much better looking cars, but here are what the external dimensions of these three cars are. Both the Sonet and the Syros are sub 4 meter cars, but the Syros is the widest and tallest amongst the three. Its wheelbase is longer than the Sonet but shorter than the Seltos. However, though the Syros is wider than the Seltos, the latter has the better interior width. The Kia's front lighting setup is inspired by its much older sibling, the Kia EV9, with the LED headlights on the bumpers. Kia is calling it an Ice Cube MFR headlamp. Somehow this car strangely and remotely resembles the silhouette of the Mahindra KUV 100, at least from the front, perhaps because of the shape of the DRLs. Kia is calling this a digital tiger face. At the front and rear, you see plastic but with silver finish skid plates, and the Syros also gets an integrated spoiler. From the side, it looks very minivanish, and from the rear, I must say that it looks more decent and acceptable than from any other angle. The Syros also gets streamlined door handles, which the Sonet and the Seltos miss out on. With the Syros, the largest wheels on offer are the 17-inch diamond cut alloys, whereas with the Sonet, you get 16-inch wheels, and with the Seltos, you get 18-inch wheels, of course, as the largest options. As for me, I prefer the looks of the Seltos first, the Sonet next, and then the Syros. Moving inside, the Syros is a seriously nice place to be in. This is perhaps what the car is all about. It isn't only loaded with features, which I'll get to a little later, but it is very futuristic, modern, and a tastefully produced cabin. The panoramic sunroof is simply like nothing you've ever seen in existing vehicles, especially in this segment. The color scheme is a white and grey combo with orange accents, which I must say is beautifully executed, especially considering the fact that grey and white is often a dull and unexciting combination. The infotainment and digital dashboard unit looks similar to the setup on the Seltos, but that's where the similarity ends. Kia has named this display a 30-inch Trinity panoramic display, which is a stunning name for what is actually a 12.3-inch touchscreen infotainment system, a 5-inch AC display unit, and a 12-inch instrument cluster. Once you are seated inside, you will see a huge dual-pane panoramic sunroof. The party trick here, well, apart from the unnecessarily huge sunroof, is the rear seat recline functionality, which we last saw on the MG Windsor. However, do note that the amount of boot space that will be available will depend on the seat recline angle. The other eye candy feature is, of course, the ambient light strips that are on the dashboard and the front door panels. When it comes to interior space, the Syros is larger than the Sonet, both with the rear seat legroom and width. Compared to the Seltos though, it is a bit narrower, and the Seltos is definitely the better car if the rear seats are often going to seat 3 passengers. The Sonet, on the other hand, is an ideal small family car where 2 adults and 2 children can comfortably be accommodated. But the Sonet does have a stiffer ride. Overall, when it comes to interiors, I would still prefer being in a Seltos, then the Syros, and finally the Sonet. And the reason why I would prefer being in the Seltos is because it also gets a dual pane sunroof and is a wider car than the other two while having the best legroom as well. Let's now check out what the feature set on the Syros looks like, and boy is it loaded to the brim. First off, level 2 ADAS, and with that comes a host of features such as collision avoidance or autonomous braking, automatic high beam assist, adaptive cruise control, a blind view monitoring camera, a driver attention warning system, and lane keep assist. Now you do get level 2 ADAS on some of the variants of the Seltos as well, but on the Sonet you only get level 1 ADAS. So it is primarily a warning system and doesn't actively keep lanes or brake on your behalf. The next important feature is the ventilated seat in the front and rear. Yes, the Syros does get rear ventilated seats, but only on the cushions you seat your bum on, not the backrest. Neither the Seltos nor the Sonet gets rear ventilated seats, and the Sonet doesn't even have front ventilated seats. Talking about screens and infotainment system, again the Syros aces this with a Harman Kardon system and a proudly marketed 30-inch panoramic display. On the other hand, the Seltos and the Sonet get two 10.25-inch displays for the infotainment and instrument clusters respectively. The Syros and Sonet get a 4-way power adjust driver seat with manual height adjust, whereas the Seltos has an 8-way power driver seat adjustment in some of its variants. When it comes to safety, all three cars get 6 airbags as standard. But talking about NCAP ratings, the Seltos is the only one that is rated and gets 3 stars, although this rating is quite old and happened when the Seltos had only 2 airbags. Neither the Sonet nor the Syros have an NCAP rating yet. Apart from all this, here are some of the highlight features of the Syros. You get a smart air purifier, electronic parking brake and auto hold, multilingual voice commands that also control the power windows now, a 360-degree camera, hill assist control, dual dash cam, and a tire pressure monitoring system. Though the feature set on the Syros is really good, the Seltos and Sonet are not too far away. But yes, purely talking about the features, I'd obviously prefer what's on offer with the Syros first, the Seltos next, and then the Sonet. Let's now see how these cars compare on the practicality front. The Syros gets a variable boot space that ranges from 390 liters to a massive 465 liters. That is even bigger than the 433 liters that you get on the Seltos and way bigger than the 385 liters that the Sonet offers. When it comes to ground clearance, the Syros gets an unofficial number of 190 mm and so does the Seltos, and the Sonet gets the best ground clearance of 205 mm. Alright, let's now talk about engines, and once again there isn't a point actually comparing prices for each gearbox and engine option because these cars are from different segments. The common engine amongst the Seltos, the Sonet and the Syros is the 4-cylinder 1.5 litre turbo diesel engine. The Sonet also gets a 1 litre 3-cylinder turbo petrol and a 1.2 litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder petrol engine. The Syros, however, apart from the 1.5 litre diesel, only gets a GDI 1 litre 3-cylinder turbo petrol. Talking about gearbox options, all three cars get the diesel engine with either a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed torque converter automatic. The Sonet, which is the sole naturally aspirated car here, gets that 1.2 litre 4-cylinder engine, petrol engine, mated only to a 5-speed manual gearbox, no automatic options with this engine. If you want a 1 litre turbo, the Sonet offers it with a 7-speed DCT or a clutchless manual transmission, and I'm expecting the Syros 1 litre turbo engine will also have the same gearbox options. The Seltos, on the other hand, gets a 1.5 litre naturally aspirated petrol engine mated to a 6-speed manual or a CVT. The most powerful engine amongst these three cars is, however, only available on the Seltos, and that is a 4-cylinder turbo petrol 1.5 liter unit. And unfortunately, no manual options here, it only gets a DCT. Here is the price range for these three cars, but because the price of the Syros was announced just today, the 1st of February, I couldn't fetch the on-road prices. So now that we've compared these cars on most of the important parameters, here are my thoughts on the Syros. Firstly, with the Syros, Kia seems to be making an attempt to corner a considerable size of the sub 20 lakh SUV market by producing this overlapping product. I think they've deliberately not given this car the 1.2 liter 4-cylinder naturally aspirated engine because that could perhaps make a troubling dent on the Sonet's sales numbers. Secondly, it is a terrible design, but apart from that, it is packed to the brim with features and has a fancy and roomy interior. But imagine getting out of the car and parking it and looking back at it. It would constantly make me question my taste in cars if I ever bought one. Thirdly, I'd put my money on the Kia Sonet 1.5 liter diesel. It's such a compact form factor but gets a pretty big diesel engine, and this would be a proper highway mile muncher, and pair that with a firm ride and 207 mm of ground clearance, it is a proper car for solo trips or for two people. Just to dump everything in the rear seat, hit the open roads and be less worried about scraping the underpinnings of your car, all while being cheap to run and fun to drive. This is what makes it a proper package. But what would y'all do? Which car would you go for and why? Let me know in the comments below. And also, yes, the comment section is a place where we can interact, and I look forward to doing that. I hope you all enjoyed this technical comparison. Please subscribe to the CarStats channel. It's going to take me a very long way, and I'll see you all next week.